I was one of the people that had the spinal degeneration. And you can see from some of the little scars here, I've had a cervical fusion and was told recently by the chiropractor, Dr. Tracy Rush, that was so wonderful. She's the first person that listened to me, and you can tell when a doctor is really hearing what you're saying. And she referred me. She said, Tina, it's a red flag here. I think you have chronic Lyme. I had started in 1988. That was 26 years ago. Yes. And at that time, the only thing they were able to find was my thyroid had atrophied. And they started, this was in Baltimore. I went to the Greater Baltimore Medical Center and saw Dr. Eugenia Pavlov, who is now passed. And she started me on thyroid medication, and that was okay, but the fatigue never went away. And so then she said I had chronic fatigue syndrome. And over the years, it's a progressive disease, and so it starts to affect more and more things. And so you become known as the person that is always sick. You know, first you have this, and, you know, at first I have joint pain, and then I have terrible headaches. So I would get CAT scans that showed white lesions on my brain. My spine was starting to break down. And they would treat each thing. They would treat you for the migraines that were maybe causing the lesions, but they weren't sure. They could fuse my spine, and now I have 3 discs that have ruptured in my lower back, which is almost incredible because for 4 years, I go to work, I spend some time with my grandchildren, and then I don't move because it hurt. It literally feels like, some days I say, it feels like you have the flu every day, and you just keep going. Because what's your other option? You sleep when you can, and if I had a function coming up, I would always sleep for 3 or 4 hours, even if I knew my husband and I were going out to dinner, because I needed that extra rest in order to be able to function in a normal way. I have maintained a job, and I actually got through hygiene school, but it was hard. I just had to sleep. You know, it takes a big part of your life. You feel like when you've had it for a long time that you learn how to cope. You learn what works for you, because the doctors don't know. I didn't even get a diagnosis until about a month ago. I went all this time. I was told chronic fatigue, and then the chronic fatigue, like I said, over the years become known as fibromyalgia. And so when you have flares, and this disease causes flares, you have days and weeks actually where you will feel a little better. I always had the fatigue, but the pain would kind of come and go, and I would call it a flare. So when I first came in to see Dr. Childers, I explained to him, and he said, explain a flare to me. And I said, well, it's like having the flu really bad, and you hurt really bad, and, you know, nobody understands what's wrong with you. You know, they just think that you're a hypochondriac. And, you know, and I don't blame people for that, because it would be hard to have someone that you love, hearing them complain all the time, and they're always telling you they have something different. Well, now I have this, and now I have that. And eventually, even your own family is just like, you know, they don't understand. And they love you, and you know they love you. And, you know, I think my mom was the one that always knew there was something. And she said, I hope I live long enough to see you get better.
Did she?
Yes.
Oh, good.
My mom is watching me get better. And that's incredible. But I would like to say I have a lot of friends, and one in particular, that has had a diagnosis of Lyme's. She's received treatment. She's lost her insurance because she's not able to really work anymore. The job that she has now, she's able to do from home, but she's actually having seizures from it, and she can't afford the treatment. It's not covered by insurance, which she's lost anyway. But you do get so sick, and it affects everybody different. But over time, I think that you just you find yourself just searching and searching everything on the internet. You know, you put in every symptom you have, praying that you're going to be able to find something that you can take to a doctor and say, please, can you test me for this? There are a lot of people suffering that have not got a diagnosis. There are a lot of people suffering that have gotten diagnoses but can't afford treatment. The tests that we have are not good. I actually It used to be that you had to have 5 bands in order to be considered positive. I had 4. So I was told that I was borderline and didn't need treatment. That was 3 years ago. And when I came into Dr. C, he just said, but there's 50 other co-infections, and you weren't tested for any of those. And I said, no. He asked me what treatment I have received for Lyme's, and I said, well, I don't have Lyme's. And he said, you have Lyme's. I'm looking at it right here on your paper from 3 years ago. And I said, but I was told that it was borderline and I didn't need treatment. And he started to explain to me what was happening to my body and why it had affected my nerves and my muscles, my eyes. There's a lot. And the bad thing to me is that it's an invisible illness. You can't see it. And until you find a Lyme literate doctor that will listen to your symptoms and explain, try to get a full picture of what's happening to you, it's hopeless. You feel hopeless. You just feel like you do what you can do. You know your limitations. And you almost get to the point where you only will discuss it with a few people, a few trusted friends that believe you. They believe that there's something wrong, but they can't help you. It's a blessing to be here with him as he fights for us. And we feel like we have a voice now, and we didn't before. I couldn't put a name to what was wrong. You know in your heart, you know your body, and you know when there's something wrong. And you just have to try to keep fighting and not give up. And I was guilty of even giving up. I just gotten to the point where I didn't want to talk to another doctor. I had it with them. They didn't listen. They didn't understand what I was trying to explain. I've had them tell me go home and do yoga and reduce your stress, and you'll feel better. This is my 5th treatment, and after my first treatment, everybody's story is different, but after my first treatment, I saw a difference in the fatigue. Not the pain. The pain, it takes a little longer, and the herxing is hard, the Herxheimer reaction.
Was it great to have that kind of energy back?
It was an incredible feeling. I spent it with my mom. I went and got her, and we went to dinner, and she made the statement, I have my daughter back. And I said, we're on the right road.
How did that feel?
The biggest blessing that you could imagine. To feel like you were getting yourself back. Getting that. Thank you. Thank you so much.